Hi guys, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. If this is your first time on this channel, thank you very much for dropping by. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for tuning in today. Today, I'm just here to give you gist, right? So it's just gist. And before we go right into it, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Giving you guys gist today of how pretty much, let's just say, for people relocating, coming abroad, whether it is to Canada, UK, US, Russia, wherever it is, relocating is not all doom and gloom, right? It is, it can be exciting and also an avenue to do things that you never thought that you could do at the time that you have done that thing. So pretty much this gist is all about how we bought two houses in one. So I'll start from the very beginning, and then work my way to what we can call the present day. So I remember back when we first arrived in Canada, just like I won't say every regular immigrant, or maybe most people, or maybe not, of course, I think we've said this story before, how we landed first in Ontario and then we decided to move down to Calgary when we looked at which one would pay us, right? Living in a big city and be spending so much, or living in a big city is sort of too, but at least the expenses there is not really high. So we moved to Calgary, and maybe, I'm not sure we have shared this video, but we'll probably share it in one of our upcoming videos. And we so the very first place that we stayed was in a 2-bedroom basement that we paid for online without seeing. you can imagine, and that actually turned out to be a very good decision because it was good. It was furnished, again coming into a place where you didn't know anybody, because we actually didn't know anybody when we moved to Calgary. And it was good. The landlady was good, very pleasant, excellent, superb, very wonderful woman or lady, if you may. And yeah, so we started living gradually, we were living our lives. And then 6 months down the line, we decided to, okay, let's try our luck in the housing market. Let's see. And then we decided, as a JJC that we were at the time, let's see if we can, buy something, buy a house. And then we started the process. And along the line, when we started looking, in fact, we saw some that we liked, and then we made offers. Good, they drew up the contract, we signed. Now it was the time for us to get the financing, right? And we didn't get approved because of some other things that we probably should have known if we did our assignment at the time. We were just 6 months in. So just for some reasons, there were some documentations that they were asking for, and then we didn't qualify at the time. So we decided, okay, let's just relax now, continue living our basement, JJ, and we'll see. So a couple of months after, which would now be about 10 months into our arrival, we decided to try again. And yeah, so again, the first process would always be start looking. Check online, Remax, Realtor.ca, just check. And we were working with a realtor, the first person we worked with the very first time. And so we started checking. Now, there was something very interesting about the housing market at that time. It was what they would call the seller's market. There were so many buyers in the market, and people were just jacking up their prices, like, what's going on here? There was no room for bargaining. If you see a house and they say, this house is 500,000, maybe the depending on what the market was, you can still try to beat the price and see, maybe they will cut 10k, 20k, whatever. In this market, in fact, that 500,000 gone, that is the asking price, will not cut it. If you are not ready to put down like 510, 520, or, it became like a race of the highest bidder. Anyway, shall continued. We were looking and we were searching. We would see some, we would go and check, and before we get back to the house, to even drop before our realtor would drop the agreement, you just hear sold. Sold again. What's happening? And we checked so many like that. We'll go and check. We love this one. We like this one. Before we get back home, sold. Before we get back home, sold. Well, what can we do now? We continue checking, and then we saw one that we liked at the time. It was a semi-detached. It was a new build, and I can't recall how much the man was asking for, but I remember the man said he was selling for, I think the house belonged to his daughter, and then he was selling for her. Can't remember what the asking price was. So this time around, the realtor was not even trying to beat down the price or anything. We just, I beg, offer them how much they're asking, because it gets tiring at some point where you are just going to check, and before you know it is sold, then you go back to square one again, you start checking. Before you know it's sold. So like, we'll just give them how much they're asking. And the realtor drew up the agreement. Now, so we started waiting for this man. Oh yeah, send back we signed, and then send back the documents. We will call him, and he was just delaying. He was just, stalling. That's the word. He was stalling. And we didn't know why. Eventually, he did not even respond again. The realtor kept calling, and he didn't respond anymore. And I'm like, well, when you've checked it, you're just disappointed. You're just disappointed. Okay. So then our realtor came up with this, what's it called? He said a friend of his, who was another realtor, had told him about this house. Now this particular one, because me, I was always checking online, all these houses. I'll be online, I'll check. If I see one that I like, okay, I'll send it to my husband, send it to the realtor, let's book a time, let's book a slot. Now this particular house, I had never seen it. Apparently they had not placed it in the market at the time. So this was just an internal arrangement between the realtors, like I have this house that my client wants to sell, do you have any buyer? I think that was a conversation between the realtors, and our realtor told us. Meanwhile, we had told him before that we would prefer a house that has a finished basement, because again, you might know what the advantages of having a finished basement is in terms of the extra income that you can get from there, because you can rent it out, or it just has a better value than one without a finished basement. But all the ones that we were seeing initially, none of them had a finished basement. But this particular one, that we were discussing, has a finished basement. But it was not online yet. They had not put it up online for everybody. It was just still hush internal. And then our realtor told us, so we decided to go and see after all the experiences that we've had. If he tells us that he has one house he wants us to go and see, we'll make sure that we go and see that day. And there are times that you go and see, and then you're trying to see, let's decide, do we like it or not? And this was not the time to be dilly-dallying or and then we were going to check. Now this particular owner he wanted to sell 2 houses. He had 2 houses he wanted to sell, and they were semi-detached, identical. We checked both of them beside each other. We checked the first one, we checked the second one, and because again, when it comes to buying a house, you may check one, and then you just see, this house, there might just be something there that you don't really like. Maybe it's because the kitchen is in the center, you'd like the kitchen to be in the corner, but the kitchen is in the center, or the sitting room is, again, because if you're building from the scratch like we would in Nigeria, you can draw your plan, the architect will look at it for you. Where do you want your sitting room to be? Where do you can arrange it. But this one has already been done. So again, at that point, so you just come to terms with, well, if this is the best that we have right now. Maybe we should just take it. And we went to see the house. That it was in the night. We didn't even see it in broad daylight. It was in the night during winter. So we checked, and then even though he had one or two things that we thought, but without, after the experiences that we've had, I beg, let's just put in for this particular house. Let's tell the realtor to make an offer with the seller. Now recall that this particular house, they are not putting it up for sale officially, technically. So that night, we worked with our realtor. They contacted the seller, and we put in for the offer at the price that he wanted to sell it for. We tried to beat down the price, but it wouldn't budge. Again, this is a house that has a finished basement. The initial one that we wanted to buy, that we made the offer, that the Baba did not respond. That one was, and the difference there was just like maybe about $15,000 difference. So, you know, so excuse me, we put in the offer that night, and everybody signed. It was like maybe 12 a.m. and everybody put the both we the buyers and then the seller, we bought, we signed. Perfect. Everything was good. House was sold. Now recall I said this particular owner has two, out of which we bought one. Now there's still one. And it was the following day they were going to officially put it online for people to buy, people to indicate interest. So when they put the other one for sale online and offers started rolling in, you won't believe it. Initially, the amount that is sold, because it was going to sell the two at the same price because they were identical, same thing, no, just same difference, same thing, no difference. Both has finished basement, same thing. Then they started getting offers for that second house. By the time they sold the house, they sold it for about 35,000 more than what we bought. Again, sometimes I look back at that situation and I'm like, when God wants to do something for you, it's not more than that. $35,000 more. When we discussed, when our realtor told us, it was like, oh, the seller was not happy that he signed the one for us that night, just that night before they put the other one for sale. If you had waited till the following morning and they put the two for sale, then they would have got people would have bidded. Then the highest bidder, you probably would have sold it for more than the price it sold to us. But that's just God working, pretty much. And of course, we were happy. Anyway, we were happy. So it's like sometimes I'll come out of the house and I'll look at this other house and I'm like, and this house is the same thing, yet this buyer paid 35K more than what. But that's just God working, right? Again, I cast my mind back to, if we had bought the initial one and we wanted to buy, we had made offer and the man did not respond back to us. That one said they don't have a finished basement though. Imagine if that was the one we bought. So we would have bought it not near. But if God has a better plan for you, that's the way I look at that situation. So anyways, we bought the house and then we started the financing process. This time around there was no issues. We were able to get the financing and the deal was closed. Perfect. Praise God. Hallelujah. We bought the first house about 10 months into the arrival in Kano. So we started living now, normal, furnished the house, different things, did all the, to make the house habitable and all. Then, 10 months, it's like that number 10 is very significant. 10 months into living in that particular house, and that house was good because it had a finished basement, like I said, which was used as an additional income because we're getting rental income from there. We decided to rent it out. That one is one story for another day when you want to talk about who or the kind of people that you should rent your property to. That's my very first experience in terms of renting out, or should I use the word like being a landlord and having all the hassles or the issues that might come with being a landlord and having a tenant. Again, you know that practice is different. For example, in Nigeria, if you rent a space, if you rent a house, there's nothing, if anything, if you have any issues, you fix it by yourself now in the house. Like if you have any, whatever, I don't really think there's a time when you go and call your landlord to say, this house, oh, there's plumbing issue, or that's the practice in Nigeria. But here, your landlord is if anything is wrong, no matter how tiny it is, you contact your landlord and they have to fix it. So it's just because it's the landlord's property now. It's not, you're just renting, you're just a tenant, and you're just living the space and paying for it. So, but that's just discussion for another day, for the kind of people that we had as tenants at the time. Anyway, and then so we were living, everything was good, perfect, wonderful. 10 months into living in that space, myself and my husband were discussing one day. We're just discussing, just conversation, like it's like this house, so equity should have, there should be equity on it by now. I mean, new build, let's just say 10 months, and let's just check and see what is the appreciation like. The house must have appreciated now. We've also done some 1 or 2 they call it improvements, like home improvements. We've also done some improvements. Let's see what the value of the house would be now, like in terms of how much has it appreciated. And we looked at it, and then jokingly, we're just talking about, okay, let's see now, maybe we can sell the house and see if we can buy something else. It just started as a joke. I remember that night, we were not even really serious about it, and then it was just something we discussed with our realtor, and like play, put the house online for us, and we started getting offers. People started indicating interest, and for that one, that's another story on its own. In terms of when you want to sell the house, there's a lot of work that comes with wanting to sell your property. You would put it online, and then people would indicate interest, and they want to come and see. It's the same way we were going to go and see when we wanted to buy. People will come and see, and for them to come and see, it means that you have to put the place in order, arrange everywhere, make it neat and nice for them. Of course, nobody wants to come and check a space, a living space, and everywhere is untidy. So for that one, is another hassle on its own, and then some people will come and check and they'll say, oh no, we are not interested. Imagine all the stress that comes with arranging this, and then you now say you're not interested. Then the realtor again will say, hello, somebody is coming to check tomorrow. You will call us today. Somebody is coming to check tomorrow. And imagine how you can manage that situation, because we are workers. It's not like we are self-employed. We are working somewhere. For you to really put your place in order, and it just comes with, I don't know, a lot of stress, only for the person to now come and say, we are not buying again, or whatever. Anyway, that went on for as long, and that's why you hear some people, after the initial experience they've had with selling their first home, they would say something like, when I want to sell my next home, I pray that God would have blessed me enough to leave that house, as a vacate it, and be living elsewhere, even if it's living in an Airbnb, so that I'm not having to do constant cleaning, arranging. Because it's a space that you're living. If somebody says they are coming to check today, you arrange it. When you come back, you still live in that same space now. You use your gas, your cooker, you still live in and then the constant arranging, right? So some people say, no, they won't do. They will just leave it vacant, so that once they've done that initial arranging, then that's the only one. People will come in, check, come in and go. So that process went on for about a while, and eventually we had a couple coming to check one night, and I remember that day, I think the realtor just told us that morning that somebody was going to come and check. We thought about cancelling, but for some reason we decided, because again it was a lot of stress, right? We decided to go through with it, and they checked, and yay, they made an offer. They were the ones who were going to buy the house. So the process started, and of course, what that means is that you are selling your home. You have to move into you are not going to be living on the street now. You have to buy another one. So once they made an offer for the home, and again this time we had to start looking for a space for ourselves as well. Again, our realtor who put up our house for sale was also the one we're using to buy the new one. And this is just a side note, this is just another story. There's money in this realtor business, so maybe even me, I should go and take the course and start selling house, because the same realtor will sell, he will make money from selling the house, and he will also make money from buying the new one we're going to live in. So it's like two transactions for one person, and you're making money in both places. And just one thing to also notice, with the housing market here, the realtor fees is usually paid by the seller of the home. So you are the one who is selling your home, you are the one who is going to pay the realtor fees of the buyer's realtor, and you're also going to pay of the seller's realtor. So you are paying the fees of both realtors. That's just one thing to also note about the real estate business. So side notes, if you are considering taking the realtor course to start selling homes in Canada, it might be a good one. This is to encourage you not to stop, keep trying, keep pushing, write your exams, pass, and then you can be swimming in money. Anyway, so that's just by the way. So yeah, they made an offer, and we had to start looking for a place for ourselves as well. Then that was another hassle on its own. We started looking, searching, and at the time, the inventory at that time was quite low. There weren't so many houses in the market. And so again, some of the ones that we'll see online, and we'll bookmark them before you just go back and check. Sold. Eventually, with this other one again that we eventually settled for, again, we never saw this house online. We never saw it online. It was brought to us by our realtor. So we had initially gone to check, and even though we had not decided that was the one we were going to settle for, we checked, and we were still checking some other ones. Again, we were looking for one that had a finished basement, just like where we were coming from. But for some reason, and just because of everything that was going on in the housing market at the time, there was even one that we saw. Even this one is quite close to the one we finally settled for. It had a finished basement, had a garage, had everything. The house was absolutely complete. And we had discussed with in fact, the seller had said, okay, we had even signed, we had made an offer, only for the person to come back and say he's no longer selling. That was quite disappointing, because the house checked all the boxes of what we wanted. It was just like a one-stop shop. So we had to start looking again, and time was going, because somebody had indicated interest to buy that house, and you've accepted the offer. You cannot go back to say you are no longer selling. So we're looking, and then eventually we decided to go for this one that we are in right now. Again, I like to talk about how we got that as a miracle, because when you look at what the market was saying at the time and how we got this one, it could have only been, God. It's just a miracle, basically. And so yeah, that is the story or the gist, if you may. So yeah, we finalized the sale of that other one, and then we moved. We did the financing and everything, of course, for this one, and then we're now. And yeah, so that's it. Coming leaving your own country and going, sometimes it's not all doom and gloom. It has its own bright sides, right? There are things that you can do, opportunities, in maybe in a country like Canada that you can leverage on, that can help you to achieve your goals faster, basically. So pretty much that's our story. That's the gist. And in the next couple of videos that we're going to be sharing, we're going to be showing you videos of the very first home that we bought, and then yeah, we'll maybe do a video of the one that we're also in right now. Yeah, we have come to the end of the video for today. Again, please do not forget to do what, as usual, like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again in our next video. Same time, same channel, same station. Don't touch that.